Hello, this is Michael Paul with the New Orleans Scottish Rite College. A few years ago, I did a video titled The Legend of Hiram. The goal of doing that video, as well as several others on the same general subject, was to talk about the lesson of integrity and how this legend presents that lesson so brilliantly. Following the video, I received a number of emails asking for my thoughts on other aspects of this lesson. It turns out that this story can be looked at from a number of different angles. One question was if I believed that it was necessary for Harum to die in order to teach anything about integrity. I was asked if the lesson of integrity would have been compromised if Harum had refused to give them what they wanted, but still fought back to save his life. Well, no, I don't believe that the point would be compromised, but let's look at this question. To start with, it should again be pointed out that this is a work of fiction. There is no evidence that this story of Harum is an actual historical account. It's offered in Masonry simply as a vehicle to teach symbolic moral lessons. But any symbolic lesson that is worth anything has layers of lessons that can be drawn from it, even ones that were not originally written into it. So, if we take the story at face value, that Harum was the Grand Master of a group of operative Freemasons, this clearly means that he was one who was highly skilled in all of the operations of the Freemasons. We can assume that he worked his way up from an apprentice. Then he would seem to have been selected as the lead of all the masters, the Grand Master. The work would have been long and hard. He most likely spent most of his life doing strenuous physical labor, from sun up to sundown. To reach the point in which he reached, he would have likely have been at least middle-aged, or maybe a bit past middle age. As to the three bad guys, well, they were not yet masters. They were not inexperienced apprentices, but they were fellows of the craft. They were young and undoubtedly in good physical shape from years of hard work. While there is no suggestion that Harum was feeble, it is rather certain that he was not in the same physical shape that he once was in. To take on three young men in their prime might seem to have been a lot to expect from him. But on the other hand, Harum might have been older and no longer in the same physical shape that he once was in, but why indeed would he not at least put up some sort of fight against individuals who threatened to kill him? This is where symbolic moral lessons come into play. A quality leader is always looking for those who can replace him. The only way that any organization or group can keep existing over the years is to have a constant stream of quality leaders who have the best interests of the organization at heart. Those leaders who only look out for their own best interest are the cancer within any group. The power-hungry, ego-driven leader is the weak link in any chain, regardless of any bravado that they might display. So how does a quality leader look for his replacements? Leaders in elite military or law enforcement organization often come up through the ranks and have gone through extensive training. I watched something on military training recently, and it caught my attention. It was a Navy SEAL talking about leaders and an event that happened during a training operation when he was one of the new guys. It was training that they had done many, many times before. They were to clear a building. Everyone was focused on what they were doing and the next steps that they would take. A threat could pop up anywhere and any time. They came into a room and were all looking down the barrels of their weapons and waiting for the instructor to give the next call. They waited, and they waited longer, but no instructions came. They began to realize that they were waiting too long doing nothing. In an actual combat situation, this could be a problem. Finally, the new guy couldn't stand it any longer. He knew something was wrong. He then did something on his own. He pointed his weapon at the ceiling and moved back just a couple of inches. Then he looked around. He could see his platoon commander, the assistant commander, and everyone else, all frozen looking down the barrels of their weapons. He then looked around the whole area. He could see what needed to be done because of his taking a step back and looking at the whole situation. But no one was giving the call. Calling up his courage, he yelled out, "Hold left, clear right." It was a basic command that they had done many times before, and one that he knew was right for this situation. He said that he expected someone to yell back, "Shut up! Who are you?" But instead, He heard the command being repeated, and they began executing just like they had done so many times before. When it was over, he said that he fully expected one of the senior guys to chew him out for stepping out of line. But they just came up to him and told him, "Good job stepping up." You see, it was a test. The point was that at any moment, a leader or leaders giving the commands can be taken out. What happens to the team after that? If no one steps up, then they all may be lost. This test was to find potential future leaders. They needed to see who would first step up and then second, give the correct call. There is a lesson here for us all. We don't need leaders in Freemasonry who don't know what they're doing. All of the ego and loud talk does not replace knowledge of Freemasonry. We also don't need leaders who fear stepping up. A leader needs to have the courage to do the right thing, even when they may be risking it all. From just these points, Harum would have displayed all of the qualities of a true quality leader. According to what we know, Harum displayed tremendous courage when facing those who would end up murdering him. He didn't give them what they wanted. He didn't violate his promises. But the story does not tell us if he put up any fight to save his life. That may not be necessary to the story, but it is an interesting question. So let's try to find out if there could possibly be more to this story. Harum may not have had great personal knowledge of the three bad guys, but we can assume that he at least knew them. He clearly knew that they were not among the ones slated for advancement. If we delve into the realm of all things possible, then maybe upon first seeing them, Harum desired to further test them. The test for the Navy SEALs was for the leader to do nothing at all, so that he may see who steps up and does the right thing. There is no clear answer with Harum because the situation is not clearly addressed in the story. All that we can do is try to build on what we know and don't know. Harum was a quality leader. He would have always been on the lookout for those who could fill the leadership shoes in the future. While it's not explained why Harum acted and did not act in certain ways in this confrontation, it is an interesting study in human nature. I don't have any obvious or provable answer to the question, but it's not impossible that Harum's last moments alive was to think of the welfare of the order from more than one position. Maybe he did have hope that the bad guys could be redeemed at the last moment and display qualities of true leadership. It didn't happen, but it would show a unique quality in Harum that he never gave up hope in his workers, even when hope was a very long shot. It would display a unique level of kindness and unyielding loyalty to our members. We know from the outcome of this story that all who are tested are not worthy. When given every chance, some will choose the wrong path. These unworthy need to be identified and kept from our inner circles. But I do find it most interesting that from every way that you look at this situation, Harum chose the right path. The story is worth looking at and thinking about over and over. All of these moral lessons contain hidden gems that we may not find without close examination. Thank you for watching. I hope this video has been of some value. If you like the channel, please hit the like button and subscribe to us. See you next time.